Hi everybody, Russ and the West Ham Network. Hope you're all safe and well, my friends. Over half of you watching aren't subscribers. Unbelievable. So if you could subscribe, you'd be doing us a massive favour. And while you're there, hit the bell notification, give it a like, give it a comment, all that good stuff. Happy Friday, another week we've done. Congratulations, well done. And we are heading up north, top north to not north, but to the Midlands, to Molineux on Saturday, 3 p.m, where we'll be playing Wolverhampton Wanderers in the Premier League. A relegation 6-pointer, definitely, I'd say. And as we do on a Friday with Hammers Headlines in association with the KUMB.com boys, we do a synopsis. Very posh word for Friday, of the David Moyes press conference, which took place about an hour and a half ago, and gave information. Now, interesting enough, for a press conference to do with a big game against Wolves, there was no talk about team selections or anything like that. All that, I imagine, has gone into the embargo section. For those of you who don't know, basically the press conference is split into two. There's the public conference, which you'll see probably the West Ham media team will put that out as a thing, and you'll see John T on Football London and Roshane at the Athletic. They'll report on that straight away. Then there's the embargoed section where they ask them all the interesting questions, but that is not allowed out into the public. And I imagine including that is questions about Skamaka, is questions about whether Zuma's back in the side and things like that. But it was, for once, it was quite a meaty press conference, if we can describe a press conference as being meaty. There was a lot more in it than just the usual party lines. A lot of questions directed, particularly around transfers, ins and outs as well. So we'll bring all of that to you. Let's start. So when asked about transfers, he said, let me just make that big full screen for you. Moyes said, not at the moment in terms of transfers coming in. Not at the moment. We said in the summer we might try and do all our business in the summer. But if the right player comes along, we will look at it. And that was a general consensus of maybe January, maybe one in, one out if it happens. But at the moment, they're only going to commit to if the right player comes along. Asked about Nesyri, was a person we've been linked with heavily. Apparently, we had a loan bid accepted by Sevilla, and Nesyri turned us down. He basically said, we've been looking at him for a few years. I don't think he will be a West Ham player. So that pretty much put the nail in the coffin there, that Nesyri is not coming to West Ham. We didn't think he was coming to West Ham anyway, but that's just put the nail in the coffin there. He seems to have rejected us yet again. Asked about any potential outs. Dawson is one of them, particularly in Wolves. And obviously we play Wolves on Saturday. And he goes, Moyes said, we've had an offer from Wolves, but at the moment we've not accepted it. We're pretty well covered at the minute. We're not planning anything just yet. I'm telling you that we've had an offer. So there we go. So in terms of any update there, as we've all been not privy to, we all know that apparently he has that, Wolves have put an offer in. We haven't accepted it as of yet, but that's not saying we won't accept it later on if the offer's still there. Also, one of the names being bandied around was Mikel Antonio. Moyes said, I don't know where that's got legs from. He's got a couple of years in his contract, so he will be staying for a while. So therefore, Moyes has said Antonio's not going. Unless maybe he spends a bit and less money spent on him, and it's a serious offer. But as he says there, he will be staying for a while. Whether that's until the end of January, until January the 29th, or January, is it closing the 29th or 30th? I don't know. Or whether it is for the next 2 years his contract, if he's still walking by then. But that's pretty clear to me that he doesn't see Antonio in leaving. And then it went on to sort of how the team's playing now, and in terms of looking at last week particularly, obviously the win against Brentford. Moyes said it was a terrific result for us because Brentford is not an easy place to go and win. We're pleased. We want to be in the cup competitions, and long may that continue. Indeed, the club have just announced that we'll be playing on Monday. The Derby game away to Derby on the Monday. That's been announced last 20 minutes, something like that. So we'll be playing over that fourth round weekend. We're playing on the Monday away to Derby. So not great for the travelling fans, is it? We'll have a good contingency going up there, a good group of people going up there. But on a Monday night, Derby. I used to go. I've been to Derby quite a few times, and I went to Loughborough University, so I know what on a Monday night though. Don't fancy that. Dark winter's night. Anyway, let's move on. When asked about, obviously you had the game against Brentford, the win, you had the draw against Leeds, asking whether maybe we are turning a corner. Moyes said, I think we've been starting to turn a corner. There we go. We've started the new year well, and we have to keep it going. It was a good result to get through in the Cup. The supporters have had something to cheer about with Cup competitions, and now we need to do the job in the league to be in a much healthier position, and that is critical, absolutely critical. We need to be in a healthier position. We need to, and we need to do it starting off the Wolves game. Obviously, we've got some crunch games coming up. We've got Wolves, Everton at home next week. We'll probably have do the tributes to David Gold then as well. So there'll be could be quite an emotionally charged game as well. And also, we've got Nottingham Forest. We've got some big games coming up, which, a couple of wins on the bounce. The league position's looking healthier, definitely. We did our lunchtime show where people were sort of, ask me anything type show where anyone can come in and talk. Someone made a really good point. We need to have this sorted. We need to have our Premier League status sorted before we end up coming back into the Europa Conference, so we can have a full, the side can be full strength and have the best chance of winning it, and then obviously that qualifying for Europe next season. So I totally agree and echo everything that was said there. And obviously, a couple of wins, things change, and then there's the whole thing around pressure. And how does Moyes handle pressure? How does the teams handle pressure? He said, it's an opportunity for all the teams, not just us. It's a great opportunity, and we have to take it. The fact that we're playing, a lot of teams that are similar are playing themselves, particularly Everton, and the role the job he did at Everton and the job he's doing at West Ham at the moment. It's always like a rebuild, and how's that's affecting. And he says, it quite often happens. You see teams winning the Premier League who are not able to do it back to back. Clubs like ourselves and Everton, it can take time. Sometimes it happens. The following season can be really hard, and I think it's almost like not the second season syndrome here. It's almost like the first season syndrome, isn't it? Really, in that. Sorry, the third season syndrome. We've had two good seasons, and I know towards the end of last season onto this season, this last calendar year hasn't been great. But it hasn't been great in reference to the previous two seasons, not great in terms of our recent history, because actually we've been quite poor. If you look at the last 20 odd years, spits and starts, but it's been no consistent success, and we've had two seasons which is consistent success for us. So I know what he means. And actually, there's going to be a big rebuild job. There's going to be a big rebuild job in the summer with so many of our players out of contract. The likes of Fabianski, the likes of I know Creswell's got his contract. He had the extension, didn't he? Like Lanzini, Sufal, Ogbonna. There's some stalwarts, so to speak, who are going to be not in the club potentially come the beginning of the 23-24 season. So, and also there's a load of other clubs with players doing the same thing. So next week we're going to take a look at them. There's a massive list of people who are coming to the end of their contracts, who technically we could sign on pre-contract agreements now for next season, or we could maybe do a little cheeky deal and try and get them in early and steal a march on our competitors potentially. So we'll go through that, and I'll pick my top five and give you an opportunity to pick yours as well. He was also asked about one of the main issues I think with this poor run is goals. We are struggling to score goals. When asked about that, Moyes said, we've been looking at it. We agree with what you're saying in terms of struggling to goal. There's been very little fluctuation from this year to last. We opened last season in really good form. This pre-season, we didn't do that. We missed big chances, and it's malaised into this season. Whether it was penalty kicks or scoring goals, we just couldn't get it. That's the biggest department where we've not achieved, and we need to get it back. We need to find a way of scoring goals and maybe being even more creative than last season. Maybe being more creative than last season, maybe. I don't know, but yeah. And I think the trouble was, well, it's twofold, isn't it? It's twofold the way I see the issues at the moment. We're not scoring that end, and we're letting them in that end. And where before we were not letting them in that end and scoring an odd one in that end, that's fine. But when you're letting it in that end and you haven't scored that end, you're going to lose a game. And that's the issue for me. It's about sorting out this bit first, and then this bit, the goals will come. Because for me, once a team is sorted in terms of defensively, that gives the likes of a Schumacher doesn't need to drop back, and Paqueta doesn't need to drop back so deep to pick up the ball and to defend, because he's got he's got a base to work off. Same as Ben Rama, and then they can be a bit more creative. So for me, it's from the back forward, and that back three. If we play a back three, the West Ham Network community voted, and they decided it is a back three for the Wolves game. Tomorrow we'll have the predicted 11 and your predicted 11 as well before the kickoff. See how close we are to Moyes, but getting that back three with Aged coming back, massive thing. And actually, he speaks about Aged quite candidly, but quite nicely as well in terms of Aged. When asked about his performances, he goes, Aged has played one full Premier League game, so it's really early days for him. We're getting used to him. We're getting him used to it. I still believe it will take a while to get him up to speed completely, but that's the same for all players coming to the Premier League. And clearly, we know there is a hell of a player there. We know there's a hell of a player there. We've seen him play. We saw the game against. We saw the game against the Premier League game. The game against Brentford, I thought was exceptional, and we've seen how well he's played against Morocco. He played for Morocco in the World Cup. He's a special player. And I think when he's fully fit, you've got one of the best centre-backs in the Premier League. He said it. Budden has said it. I've said it. Ding. Obviously, Wolves is away. We've got Everton. I think we're only playing one home game all January, particularly with the FA Cup and stuff like that. A lot of away games. And Moyes was asked about away games and about how he felt. So I think we've got 6 games in January and 5 are away from home. Very rare you get so many away games. We've got a bundle of games away from home. Hopefully we can keep picking up points away if we can, and that's the issue for me. It's actually might not be a bad thing at the moment playing away, so to speak. Maybe you have a passionate bunch of fans from the away team, from the away fans, and it may take the pressure off. Maybe so when you do come. So say for example, obviously we had the Leeds game. We beat Brentford in the cup. Or Brentford B team, whatever you call it. Say we beat Wolves tomorrow, and then we go into Everton. Maybe it's slightly better step change than maybe if we lost all 3 games. Maybe in terms of the fan base. And then then if we win it, then say we win it against Everton, then we go into the Forest game. So it's all about momentum, isn't it? It's all about the next game. I mean, look at Fulham, for example, turning over Chelsea yesterday. Absolutely mental. And then finally, there was a question about the game against Wolves and Moyes' thoughts about Wolves. And he just said, quite simply, Wolves have always been a good team with good players in their lineup. We played against Lopetegui at Sevilla last year, so we have an idea of his style. And you're beginning to see it there. It's always been a difficult game against Wolves. And that was it. There was no reference about the squad. There was no reference about the team that's going to be playing on Saturday, about injuries, about Zuma, about, potentially Schumacher injured. That was it. I think that's all in the embargo section. But we'll wait and see. I'm sure that will leak out before Saturday, but the only way you can make sure you hit the bell notification, and we will any breaking news will come to you with it straight away. Tonight we have got Irish Tommy tonight, the Late Late Show. Check that out. It's always good. He's got a couple of special guests as well, and then we'll have all your pre-match content coming up, the watch-alongs, the review shows, the rating shows, all that type of stuff. Hopefully an Ex-Hammer interview on the channel next week where you can come on and have the opportunity to talk to a West Ham player, ex-West Ham player, and give them your questions. Should be quite an interesting one, so check it out. And yeah, hope you have a great Friday night. Kebab Friday in the Budden household. Standard. And take care. Stay safe. Stay warm. Stay healthy. Keep the faith. And I'll see you guys very, very soon. Ta-ta for now, my friends. Bye-bye.